Adding unlike fractions is a skill that takes much practice because it's not natural and it doesn't feel easy because of the steps that you're taking to solve it. But what's important to know when you're adding unlike fractions, which really means adding fractions with different denominators or different bottoms, is that you cannot add or subtract fractions with different denominators. So where this picture shows you 1/3 plus 1/2, you can't solve it just like that. You're going to have to break it up differently, manipulate those numbers a little bit before you can solve it. Adding unlike fractions is going to be a skill that you have to be able to do in order to have life skills. For example, if you're adding different measurements on when you're a contractor or you're building a house, or if you are adding different parts of a recipe together, if part of your recipe is for the cake and the other part of your recipe is for the frosting, and your cake needs 3/4 cup of sugar and your frosting needs a 1/3 cup of sugar, and you need to know how much total sugar that you need in order to make your cake, and you're going to your cabinet and you need to see if you have enough, you have to be able to add those two together. Or the alternative is you're going to have to take out a measuring cup in 1/4 and a measuring cup in 1/3, and you're going to have to dump it all in there together and see if you have enough. Okay, but if you know how big your package is and you can add those fractions together, then you're going to be better off because you can do these things mentally instead of having to actually go physically remeasure items or dip several times or whatever for a recipe. Okay, here's an example and some steps that you have to take. First, you must find a common denominator, and by that I mean that you must find a number that both of your denominators or your bottom numbers go into. In this question, 1/3 plus 3/5. Okay, you need to find a number that 3 goes into and that 5 goes into, and this number has to be where they both can go into them evenly. Well, I think of the multiples of 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and 18. Okay, then I think of the multiples of 5, 5, 10, 15, 20. The first one that I run into that they have in common is 15. So 15 is the number to use in this case. So you see where I put 15 there, and then I needed to make an equivalent form of 3/5 but using 15ths. Now this is not a guessing game. You can't just throw a number on the numerator. It has to be of equal value to your original fraction. So you have to think, how did you get from 5 to 15? Well, you had to multiply by 3 to get from 5 to 15. So you need to do the same thing to your numerator to keep it in balance. Okay, so you multiply your numerator by 3 and you get 9. So this new fraction is 9/15. We'll go up to your other fraction. It's totally separate mindset from the bottom one. What do you do to 3 to get to 15? You multiply by 5. So you do that to his numerator. It's separate. His numerator gets multiplied by 5, so it's 5. Then you add like normal. You're going to add your numerator. It says make equivalents. Then add 5 plus 9. And you get how much? 14. And your denominator is going to stay the same. You're still using those 15ths, so it's going to stay 15ths. And simplify if you need to, but in this case you don't need to, so you're finished. So 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 3/5 is 14/15. Adding unlike fractions takes patience and practice, and I really want to kind of let you know that for some people it doesn't take very long to master this or to be able to do this. For some people it just takes that practice, and then finally that one time it's going to click and you're going to realize that it's easier than it was at the beginning. And it's not easier because the questions are getting easier. It's because you're getting better, and that's what I want you to remember, is that tasks and things don't get easier. You get better at doing them by gaining these skills and practice. So I want to encourage you to keep trying. Here's another question, and I wanted to, my marker kind of messed up here, but I wanted to model this one for you using some visuals. This is an item, and I broke this one into sixths. And one of my sixths is red. See it here? So this is 1/6, and that's my question, my beginning question, 1/6. And you're going to add 1/6 to 2/12. Well, here's 2/12, so I have the same size rectangle, because remember, you need to represent it using the same shape, like a congruent shape. Okay, there's 12 pieces there, and 2 of them are red. Well, you can't add 6 and 12, so you need to find an equivalent fraction, or you need to find a common denominator. And I've decided that I should use twelfths, because 6 evenly goes into 12, so I'm going to use 12. Well, I wanted to show you something. This is, the bottom fraction is already in twelfths, so you just kind of copy and paste that 2 and stick it over there. But this 6, how do you get from a batch of brownies that is in sixths and make it to serve 12 people? Well, you need to multiply your servings by 2. So look how my servings just doubled. I could have 12 pieces there. Well, if it doubled, then the pieces that are red double. You see how this was 1 bar? Well, when I went and I split it, now I have 2 pieces. Well, whatever, if you come back over here, and I remember I told you, whatever you do to the bottom, you multiply this by 2. You do to the top, multiply by 2. Well, that's what happened over here in this bar. I split it in 2. And so my red got split in 2 as well. So I have the same amount that I started with. It's just like each piece got smaller. Okay. So when I did that, I got 2/12. And then when I added, don't forget my symbol here, I added my numerators. I got 4. My denominators stay the same. I got 12. Well, then I had to simplify it, and it kind of got rubbed off. But it is 1/3. What did I divide my answer by in order to simplify it to get 1/3? Divided by 4. Because 4 goes into both of them. And I got 1/3. Okay? Patience and practice. Patience and practice. Now, if you're asking yourself, what denominator should I use? Well, here's a couple hints for you, and I got a few. This is my first one. If one goes evenly into the other, use the highest. And here's an example of that. 2/6 plus 1/3. You're going to want to use the 6, because 3 goes into 6. So you can easily convert thirds into 6 since 3 goes into 6. So you want to use the higher of the 2, not the lower. Okay, because if you think about, you can make a pan of brownies that is cut into thirds. You can make that into 6 by multiplying by 2, right? But if you have a pan that's broken up into 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, can you make that into thirds? There's no way to split this to make it into thirds. It's stuck. It can't go any smaller like that. So but you can make this, the third pan, go to 6, because look, you can put a line right through the middle. Okay? So you want to use the 6 in that situation. Another way, if that doesn't work out for you, think of the multiples of each, comma, and pick the lowest that they have in common. So just relax for a minute. This is called the least common multiple. So if I have 1/2 and 2/5, and I'm either adding or subtracting these, it doesn't matter which way I'm going. But my denominators are 2 and 5, right? And these are the numbers that I need to be looking at to find the common denominator for. Well, I'm going to look at 2, and I'm going to skip count by 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and so on. And 5, I'm going to skip count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Well, what one did I run into that they have in common? They have 10 in common. Okay? And that's the lowest one that they have in common. So that's the number that I'm going to use. And this says use 10. Okay? If those two ways don't work, you can multiply by each other and use their product. For example, 1/3 plus 1/4. Well, 3 doesn't go into 4, and 3 doesn't go into 4, and if you were to skip count by them, it would take you a while to get a common denominator, or a least common multiple. So, if you multiply 3 by 4, you get 12. Obviously, 3 can go into it, and 4 can go into it. So, you're going to use 12. And here, I went ahead and solved this one for you. I want you to look just right here for right now. The question is 1/3 plus 1/4. And I used 12. So, I had to multiply this denominator by 3 to get to that 12. So, I had to do the same thing to the numerator. 1 times 3, and I got 3. Up here, my original was in thirds, so I multiplied by 4, and I got 12. So, I multiplied the numerator by 4 and got 4. I added my numerators. I got 7. And the denominator said the same. It just kind of got wiped off here. So the answer was 7/12 for those. Please don't be discouraged. I want us to get back into this skill or work with this skill, because it's so important for your life. Everything that you're going to have to do in your life, you're going to run upon fractions. Any of you males who want to work in construction, or males who want to be the pit crew for a race car, or women who want to be a seamstress or have anything to do with measurement, women who would like to be interior design or anything like that. If you want to be a doctor, you're going to have to be able to know fractions with medications. And for example, my son was just given medicine, and he was told to take a whole teaspoon. Well, the little dropper, it's in quarter. It has a little. It looks like this. This is his medicine dropper, and it has a dash here that says 1/4 of a teaspoon, and up here it says 1/2 of a teaspoon. But it told him, here's a little squeezy thing that you push, and here's how it goes into your mouth. Okay, it told me to give him 1 whole teaspoon. I had to know that 2 halves made a whole. I had to know that. And if this only went to 4ths, I would have had to know that it took 4 of those to give to my son. So fractions are so important for caring for children, for working, for making money, for being self-sufficient. And those are all things that you need to be able to do. So I hope that this is something that if you have a fear of this, you can overcome, because it's necessary. And I just want to leave you with the note that things do not get easier. You get better at doing them.